Back to Godhead. Prabhupada's books. Bhagavad Gita, the lowest of the mankind, from Bhagavad Gita, Back to Godhead Volume 03 p.03, 1956, continued from the last issue, in Devanagari, Namam Duskritino Mudha Prapadyant Naradama Maya Partijanana Asaram Bhavamayas. Writer wordings. Na, Mam, Duskritino, Mudha, Prapadyant, Naradhama, Moya, Aparita, Janana, Asharam, Babam, Ashrita. Translation: the miscreant, grossly foolish, lowest of the mankind, and nullified of all knowledge, does not surrender unto me, being taken up by the atheistic nature. Purport: it is said in the Bhagavad Gita that simply by surrendering oneself unto the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, one can surmount the stringent laws of material nature. And therefore a question arises here: how is that many educated philosophers, scientists, lawyers, businessmen, administrators and all such men who are practically the heads and leaders of ordinary men, do not surrender to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the all-powerful, personality of Godhead? Mukti, or liberation from the laws of material nature, is sought after by all the above-mentioned heads of the human being in different ways and with great plans and perseverance for great many years and births. If that liberation is possible to be attained by the simple method of surrendering oneself unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, why then the leaders of the society who are highly intelligent and hard worker do not adopt this simple method of solving all the hard nut problems presented before them? The Bhagavad Gita gives answer to this question very frankly in this statement. The answer is that those who are really learned leaders of society like Brahma, Shiva, Kapila, Kumara, Manu, Narada, Vyasa, Devala, Ashita, Janaka, Prahlada, Bali, and later on Madhyacharya, Ramanujacharya, Sri Chaitanya and many others in the line who are faithful philosophers, politicians, educationists, scientists etc., do certainly surrender unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Person, the all-powerful authority. But those who, not actually so but pose themselves as such philosopher, scientist, educationist, administrator, out of mental, do not accept the plan nor the Supreme Lord? Without a second. Such, who has no God, manufacture there, and make the material existence more different in the name of making a solution for them. Because the material energy is too powerful, she can resist the unauthorized plans of the atheist and nullify the knowledge of such planning commissions into baffled adventures. Such atheistic plan makers have been described herein by the word duskritin, or the miscreants. Kritina means one who has performed meritorious work. The atheist plan maker is certainly very intelligent and meritorious also. Because any gigantic plan, good or bad, must tax the good brain for its execution. Because the atheist's brain is utilized in the wrong direction against the plan of the Supreme, and because the atheist does not know in fact the strength of the powerful material energy and also the mode of her work under the direction of the Supreme Lord, he, the atheistic plan maker, is called duskritina, or the one whose merit is taxed in the wrong direction. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly mentioned that the material energy works fully under the direction of the Supreme Lord. She has no independent authority. She works like the shadow moves in accordance with the movements of the substance. But still she is very powerful also. As such, the atheist, due to his godless temperament, cannot know how the material nature works, neither he can know the plan of the Supreme Lord. Under such illusion and mode of passion and ignorance, all his, the atheist's, plans become baffled, as in the case of Hiranyakashipu and Ravana. All their plans were smashed into dust, although both of them were materially learned, scientists, philosophers, administrators and educationists etc. Such duskritinas or miscreants are of four different patterns as mentioned below. 1. The muddahs are those who are grossly foolish, like the hard-working beasts of burden. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor, by themselves, and do not want to part with them for the Supreme. The typical example of the beast of burden is an ass. This humble creature is made to work very hard by the illusory method of its master the washerman. The ass does not know for whom he works so hard day and night. He remains satisfied by filling his stomach with a bundle of grass, fooding, sleeping for a while under a fear of being beaten by the washerman, and by satisfying his sex appetite even at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. The ass sings poetry and philosophy also sometime, creating a rabid disturbance to the whole quarter. That is the position of the foolish fruit of worker who does not know for whom he should work. He does not know that karma is meant for jnana. Yajnarte karmam. Whenever you meet such foolish worker, working very hard day and night for clearing the burden of his self-created duties, you will find him saying that he has no time to hear anything about the immortal part of the living being. To such muddahas, material gain, which are destructible, are all in all, although the muddha enjoys a very small fraction of the fruit of his labor. Such foolish fruit of worker will remain satisfied even without sleeping for days and months together, and due to some indigestive disease, will remain satisfied practically without food, and yet he would like to work hard day and night for the benefit of his created masters at home and abroad. Without the knowledge of his real master, the foolish worker will waste his valuable time for something which is not his master. That is his illusion, and he will never surrender to the supreme master of all masters, neither he will have time to hear about his real master in the proper channel. The swine who eats the night soil will not care to accept sweetmeats made of sugar and ghee. Such foolish worker will go on hearing continuously sense enjoyable tidings of the flickering mundane world, but will have very little time to hear about the eternal living force of the mundane world. 2. The next class of Duskritina or miscreants is called the Naradamas, or the lowest of the mankind. Nara means the human being and Adhama means the lowest. Out of the 84 lakhs of different species of living being, there are 4 lakhs of human species. Out of them there are innumerable low-grade human forms of life who are mostly uncivilized, and there are only a very few class of men who are actually civilized. The civilized human being are those who have regulated principles of social, political and religious life. Those who are socially and politically developed but have no religious principles must be counted amongst the Naradamas. Religion without God is no religion, because the purpose of following religion's principles means to know the supreme truth and our relation with him. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead has defined clearly that there is nothing above his authority, and therefore he is the supreme truth. And the civilized form of human life is meant for reviving the lost consciousness of his eternal relation with the supreme truth. The personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, all-powerful. The civilized human form of life is a chance to go back to Godhead, and whoever loses this chance is classified as the Naradhama. We get information from revealed scriptures that in the womb of the mother, when the baby remains in extreme difficult position without any moving facility, the living baby prays to God for his deliverance and promises to worship him alone as soon as he is out. That is a natural instinct of every living being, to pray to God when he is in difficulty, because he is eternally related with God. But the child after his deliverance forgets the difficulties of birth and forgets his deliverer, also influenced by Maya, the illusory material energy. It is the duty of the guardians of children to revive the divine consciousness dormant in them. The 10 processes of reformatory ceremonies as enjoined in the Manusmriti, which is the guide to religious principles, are meant for reviving God consciousness in the system of Varna Ashram. Nothing is strictly followed now in any part of the world, and therefore 99.9% populations are Naradhama. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mode of propagating the Bhagavad Dharma or the activities of the devotees, has recommended people to hear submissively the message of the personality of Godhead. The primary book of this message is the Bhagavad Gita. He can deliver the lowest of the human being by this submissive hearing process only, but unfortunately they deny to give even an oral reception to these messages, and what to speak of surrendering to the will of the Supreme Lord. Naradhama, or the lowest of the mankind, makes a willful negligence of the duty of human being. 3. The next class of Duskritina or miscreant is called Moya Parita Janana, or the person whose all erudite knowledge have been nullified by the influence of illusory material energy. They are mostly very learned fellows in the wrong direction. They are great philosophers, poets, literators, scientists, etc., but the illusory energy misguides them to the wrong direction, and therefore they have no obedience to the Supreme Lord. When the whole population as above mentioned becomes identified with the Naradhama, naturally all their so-called education are made to be null and void by the all-powerful energy of physical nature. According to the standard of Bhagavad Gita, a learned fellow is he who can see on equal terms the learned Brahmin, the dog, the cow, the elephant and the Chandala. That is the vision of a devotee. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is the incarnation of Godhead as Divine Master, delivered the typical Naradamas like Jagai and Madhai, and showed the way how the mercy of a real devotee is bestowed upon the lowest of the mankind. So the Naradhama, who is condemned by the personality of Godhead, can again revive his divine consciousness by the mercy of a devotee only. There are a great number of Moya Parita Jnanas at the present moment even amongst the regular scholars of the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, in plain and simple language, it is stated that Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is none equal to or greater than him. He is mentioned as the father of Brahma, the original father of all human being. Sri Krishna is said to be not only the father of Brahma but also the father of all species of life. He is the root of the impersonal Brahman Paramatma, or the supersoul in every entity in his plenary portion. He is the fountainhead of everything. Everyone is advised to surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. In spite of all these clear statements, the Moya Parita Jnana chew their own imaginative way. Such imaginative way of explanations are all unauthorized because they are not received in the real Parampara line or disciplic succession. Such Moya Parita Janana are described as Muddhas also because they deride at the person of the Supreme Lord for his feature like a human being. They do not know that the blessed human form of life is designed after the eternal and transcendental feature of the Supreme Lord. All such unauthorized interpretations by the class of Moya Parita Janana outside the purview of Parampara system are so many stumbling blocks in the path of spiritual understanding. Such Naradhamas do not surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, nor do they teach others to follow such principles. 4. The last class of Duskritina is called the Asharabhabamashrita or the man of demoniac principles. In other words, this class is atheist outright. Some of them argue that the Supreme Lord can never come down in this material world. But they are unable to give any tangible reason as to why he is so not enabled by the desire of an atheist. There are others who will make him subordinate to the impersonal feature, although the contrary is said in the Bhagavad Gita. Envious to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the atheist will present a number of illicit manufactured incarnations in the factory of his imaginative brain. Such persons whose very principle of life is to decry the personality of Godhead cannot surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Sri Jamunacharya Albandru of South India said, "O my Lord, you are unknowable to the persons taken up by the atheistic principles in spite of your uncommon qualities, features, and activities, in spite of your personality being strongly confirmed by all the revealed scriptures in the quality of goodness, and in spite of your being acknowledged by the famous authorities renowned for their depth of knowledge in the transcendental science and situated in the godly qualities. Therefore the 1. Miscreants, 2. Grossly foolish person, 3. The lowest of the mankind, 4. The atheistic principle, as above mentioned, surrender unto the personality of Godhead in spite of all scriptural and support to the words persons who recognize the supreme authority, the Lord must belong to, of the above groups.